Hey there, I'm Galahound19 and I am at it again with another 5 Nights of Pokemon. This time I'm going bigger and better. But why am I sitting here talking about it? Let's get on with the video.
Previously on 5 Nights of Pokemon, Ashley Sparks, while under a jealous rage, dared her friend Pika Emily into going to the long-abandoned Pokemon Diner. And unfortunately, after this squabble between friends, Pika went missing. Ashley, feeling solely responsible, went in search for her friend, but chose to search alone, and that turned out to be a dangerous decision, for the diner had more than just cobwebs and dust. Ashley found the rusted animatronics were moving on their own chaotic whim, with their metal hands reaching for Ashley. Now the young girl is running for her life. Now the nightmare continues.
Kaboom! Kaboom! Boom! Boom!
Ashley was being chased down the hallway by a skull-faced animatronic that was swinging a club like some violent Neanderthal. This was turning out to be a long night for Ashley. The hallway seemed to stretch longer and longer, with no sign of an exit of any sort. And no matter how fast she ran, the metal monster just kept gaining and gaining. She looked past her shoulder to see the club was swinging for her head. At the very last second, Ashley dove out of the way and rolled her body across the floor, kinda like a character from an action movie, only less cool looking and more clumsy. But it worked. She had slipped past the animatronic and its club. Now, this would usually be the part where the hero finds a daring yet far-fetched means to escape. Ashley's eyes darted up and down the hallway, looking for anything that could help. The girl was so tired she could barely stand up straight. As for these animatronics, they don't tire, they don't feel pain, and they don't show any pity for this little girl. They've hardly given her the chance to catch her breath, let alone figure out what the heck is going on. It didn't take long for Ashley's new skull friend to find her. Those cracked, lifeless eyes staring at her made her feel sick. It stomped its metal feet towards her, as if realizing Ashley's current situation and has now chosen to toy with the scared child instead. Ashley was about to panic, but then she spotted something. From the corner of her eye, she found an air duct, one large enough for her to crawl through. She had found her way out. Skullface swung his club for Ashley's legs, but she pulled him back just before the weapon smashed the tiled floor. Ashley quickly grabbed a loose tile and threw it at her attacker's face. She then went straight for the vent as fast as she could, but wasn't fast enough. Skullface grabbed her by her heel and dragged her across the floor. He then knelt down closer, with his cracked eyes fixated on her, and his club ready for a swing. But then, Ashley grabbed 2 broken pieces of tiles and jammed them right into those cracked eyes. Skullface jolted back in a startled confusion, blindly swinging his club around, smashing everything around him. Ashley then crawled through the vent, getting as far away from that raging thing as she could, even though she had no idea where she was going. She still had to figure out what was going on. She still had to find her friend. She still had so much stuff to do. It was driving her crazy. After crawling for what felt like forever, Ashley eventually hit a dead end in the ventilation system. Which was disappointing, of course, but things had finally quieted down, so the girl took the time to rest up and gather up her thoughts. She didn't know how she should be feeling, especially with what she did earlier. Even though it was self-defense, even though that thing wasn't human, She couldn't believe she went and stabbed it in the eyes. She wanted to prove herself brave, but was this really the way to do it? No, she went there to find her friend, not to prove anything. But why did she go alone then? Did she really went there for Pika, or just herself? Ashley's thoughts were quickly cut short when she noticed the cuts on her hands. They weren't so deep, but she wasn't taking any chances. She ripped off her sleeves and used them to bandage her wounds. She'd be less scared and confused if she just knew what these things were and why were they chasing her. If this was a horror movie, she would have at least found some kind of clue by now. A sudden gust of wind then whooshed through the vents, blowing the baseball cap off of Ashley's head. The girl chased after the flying novelty item. Further along the vents, she caught up with it. But then, down there, she found something else. She found an old school bag. It wasn't Pika's, and it looked like it had been there for a while. Inside the bag was candy wrappers, textbooks, and a leather-binded diary with the name Mitchell Aftivani written on it. The written contents of the diary was this.
I never meant to hurt anyone, but it's still my fault. In just one day, I set off a chain reaction that ruined many lives. It all started when I meddled with the circuitry of that animatronic. I thought it would be funny if it malfunctioned in the middle of the show. It was all just meant to be a prank. But then, that animatronic burst into flames. It fell off stage and landed onto my little brother. His death ruined my family, especially my father. I had no idea at the time. My father was so angry at the Pokemon diner that he took the owner's daughter and killed her. But taking his vengeance did not satisfy him. From then on, he developed a thirst for blood. He went after other children, catch 'em all he wanted, and after the diner closed down, he turned it into his base of operations. He hid the bodies of his victims inside the animatronics. That's when things went from mad to supernatural. I don't know the reason behind it all, but somehow the souls of those children became bounded to the animatronics themselves. They killed my mad father, and then they turned him into one of them, and now they want to do the same thing to me. I write this down hoping someone else will make better use of this knowledge than I did. All I want is for this nightmare to finally end.
Ashley thought she'd be less scared if she knew, but now she was even more disturbed. Those things used to be human, used to be children like her, killed and then turned into these monsters. She thought back to the very first one she saw.
Pikachu!
Was that what happened to her friend? Was that? Ashley punched the side of the air vent in frustration. The sound reverberated, then died down back to silence. She sat there for a moment, trying to figure out what is she supposed to do. Ashley heard a sudden noise. But it wasn't the wind this time. It was like a scraping and a scratching. A Santa Claus then pierced the vent right beside her. They had found her.
Stabilize! Stabilize!
The metal claws ripped out the air vent, with Ashley still inside. The girl tumbled through the wreckage. She was spun around so fast it felt like her brain was about to spill out of her ears. Ashley then found herself face to face with a 6-foot purple animatronic with a sharp-toothed grin and glistening shards of glass for eyes. At this point, Ashley was sick of screaming, so she yelled, "Who the f*** designed these ugly things?" The animatronic loomed over the cursing 10-year-old. Ashley grabbed a pipe and jammed it into the purple guy's leg, going straight through the gap within the metal platings. She then rolled out of the way as the animatronic fell flat on its metallic face. And while it was down, Ashley made a grab for the diary and then ran for it. That seemed to be all she was doing now, just running and fighting. This place is turning out to be a real cursed dumpster fire. Things were getting both worse and weirder by the minute. So Ashley just ran without a clue of which way to go, until she found herself in a large storage room with gas canisters and other metallic objects just left lying on the floor. The rest of the room was shrouded in darkness, all except for a faint blue light in the far side. Ashley thought that maybe it's a window or a way out or something, but when she got closer, she realized that it was a neon glow, but what it was coming from turned out to be far worse than a dead end. It was the biggest, meanest looking animatronic she had bumped into. It was like a final level boss, standing in 8 feet tall, with razor sharp teeth align a wood chipper like mouth, with giant crab like claws protruding from either side of its torso, and another pair of claws upon its upper body, ready for slashing, tearing, and other nasty business. So naturally, your first instinct would be to run in the opposite direction, but when Ashley turned around, she saw the purple guy was blocking the exit. The girl cursed under her breath. Now she had to choose from one monster or the other. She ran out to the side to find some cover or something to keep herself from them. She tried hiding behind a shelving cabinet, but the big animatronic picked up the cabinet within its claws and shoved the whole thing into its mouth. All the wooden shelves and metal framing was just crunched to pieces within a few seconds. Ashley backed away, but then the purple guy came up to her and backhanded the girl so hard she slid across the floor. She was winded, bruised, and terrified, but she was not about to quit now. Her eyes darted to every corner of the room. The seconds felt like minutes as she looked. The nightmarish animatronics loomed closer and closer, but then Ashley had one crazy idea. She grabbed a long yet tangled up extension lead and then ran towards the purple guy. It swatted at her with its metal claws, but she ducked underneath them and tangled the extension lead around its leg. She then threw the other end of the lead into the big animatronic's mouth, getting caught in the clinking gears of its insides. The purple guy was being dragged across the floor into the literal jaws of death. Its metal claws were scraping across the floor, trying to get away. Ashley then grabbed a gas canister and shoved it right in the purple guy's mouth, shoving it so hard and deep it got dislodged in its metal teeth. The big animatronic then started crunching the purple guy's metal body, bit by bit. First its legs, then its torso, until finally the teeth went straight through the purple guy's head, igniting the gas canister and exploding. Sparks of fire spat out from the monster's insides. Ashley then slipped past the flaming wreckage and ran for it, till the metallic screams died down to a whisper. Ashley couldn't believe she actually done that. But then she reminded herself that something has to be done, or else this nightmare will never end. She twisted and turned through corridor after corridor, until finally she found it. The slight ray from a new morning dawn shining through an open doorway. She had found her way out. But deep down inside, she knew it wasn't over. She knew that eventually she'd have to go back to try and undo the chaos, or else those souls will never be free. There are plenty of things that young Ashley does not know, but she knows that when she comes back, she will be ready.
Now, if you enjoyed this video as much as I have, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and stuff. And for the meantime, how about checking out my previous 5 Nights of Pokemon video? Or you could check out my JoJo's Bizarre Dragons episode. Now that's a good one. Anyway, I will catch you next time.